For decades, Puff Daddy parties were the place to be. From his annual Hamptons white parties, to the blowout birthday bashes, the lavish soirees were attended by everybody. Who filled out this guest list? Let's see. Jay-Z and Beyonce, Jennifer Lopez, Leonardo DiCaprio, Ashton Kutcher. I could go on and on. For his 50th birthday, Puff Daddy partied with members of the Kardashian family. Pharrell, Naomi Campbell, so many big names. Well, obviously, a lot of things are now going viral on social media. Why? Well, a lot of people want to know what happened at these white parties where Puff Daddy partied with the megastars. Specifically, there's one image in the news where everybody's holding a fun bottle of something and a lot of folks look like they're having a good time. And people want to know, just how good of a time was it? Was Leonardo DiCaprio having a good time? Was Mariah Carey having a good time? They were both wearing white. Another image that stands out, Puff Daddy screaming at a party, and who does he have in his arms? Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian. Now sure, this was during the era where Kim was Paris's second in command, her assistant if you will, but we gotta get back to the Kardashians because they know more than they're telling. So there's one video showing Khloe Kardashian bragging about partying with Puff Daddy. This isn't an old episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I know, it's like 10 years old, but it's relevant, okay? So Khloe and Kourtney are hanging out. They're discussing this wild party with a lot of friends. Bieber was there, French Montana was there, and Puff Daddy. So later on in the episode, everybody's out bowling, and Girly Pop is like, well, I haven't been to bed yet. I got on a plane at 5:30 a.m. And she said the quote that we all know about what people were or weren't wearing at the party. And it's like, hey girl, want to elaborate why you got on a plane at 5:30 a.m.? Because we all know when the bad part of the party happened, and it was after 5 a.m. She said, well, I know you're known for the parties. When you think of a party or a good time, you think of Puff. And we've been known to party with you a few times. And then Kourtney was like, oh yeah, you were just at Puffy's party. And she's like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That was an epic night too. That was fun because all the girls ditched me. So it was me and the boys. It was me, Kanye, and we were just hanging out and it was fun. I loved it. And then once again, Khloe turns to Puffy and is like, I don't know how you have all the energy, but that's who you are. And that's why people are so drawn to you because you're so eclectic. No matter what, no matter how much you work, you don't sleep, you don't do anything, but that's just you. And if you thought that's where the friendship ends, flash forward, I think 3 years later, 2019, Khloe is posting pictures of her family and Puff Daddy. December 16th, 2019. Everybody's hanging out. It's oh my gosh, yeah, happy 50th birthday. So here's the thing. Normally when Khloe posts photos of her family on Insta, the comment section is usually flooded with well wishes. But fast forward to this year, September 24th, 2024, now that everything's coming to light, yeah, there's some suspicion and anger in the comments. Folks want to know, hey, Kardashian family, you've been hanging out with Puff Daddy for years at this point. We just went through the timeline. And what's going on? So even though this was a completely unrelated post, Khloe's dropping off her family at school, and yes, there are a couple of nice little things, there's a pop singer who was oh my gosh, best mama. Everybody else wants to know other stuff. They said, and I quote, so are we just glossing over the fact that she and the other Kardashians knew what went on at Puffy parties? The circus is trying to deflect from them parties they went to, and that one was in all caps, but I'm not yelling at you, you don't need that. So let's go through the family tree. Apparently Kim has unfollowed Puffy on Insta, but has not spoken publicly over the speculation. But going back to Khloe, once again, she's always said nothing like a Puffy party and she hasn't said anything else. Now sure, nobody in the family has been linked to any of the allegations that Puffy is facing, but they have not spoken out following his arrest. They've been fawning over him for how many years now publicly? And if we're going up to, let's see, the matriarch of the family, Kris Jenner, her partner Corey Gamble had ties to the rapper as well. So there's a theory. A theory is the family is dreading the prospect of testifying at the upcoming trial. Now this is according to some insiders who claim that the family is in panic mode because all these years they've been bragging about partying with Puffy, and of course everybody's wondering, were you involved in the freak-offs? And if you don't know what the freak-offs are, how can I word this without getting in trouble with the internet? Carefully organized events that involved very naughty activities, not always consensually, with a lot of people. Please get my hint. So according to sources, the Kardashians are all insisting they weren't involved in the twisted, awful things that went up after hours at these parties. Even though we know Khloe was at these parties until 5:30 a.m., which is when the twisted things would have been happening. Now, of course, we do have to mention Puffy had plenty of glamorous parties over the years that weren't these crazy things. But, and this is a quote here, at least not until the early morning hours. Well, I don't know, folks. Didn't I just say that Khloe Kardashian was at these parties until the early morning hours? So if you're wondering how Corey ties into all of it, he made a post in 2020 saying like, oh, I will always thank Puffy and Puffy's partner for all they did in my life. So a lot of folks think Corey must have had some knowledge of what was going on, which he totally denies. So obviously, going back to Kris, Momager Supreme PR expert, she's a little embarrassed. She's scrambling to distance the entire family from this and distract everybody. But obviously, it's kind of impossible. So let's talk more about these parties for a moment, folks. Let's go back, way back. 1999, where Puffy was talking about his white parties, and it's very interesting what he said about them. At the time, 1999, folks, they don't want me to party anymore, but we're not going to stop. We will continue to have fun, to unite people from all walks of life. And he said, you will hear about my parties. Folks, this is almost 30 years ago. They're going to shut them down. Maybe they're going to arrest me. They're going to do all kinds of crazy things just because we want to have a good time. Whenever you bring a different element into people's environments, things that broaden people's horizons, people get intimidated. It's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. Okay, well, I don't know, sir. We have different ideas on this. He also joked about his tactics for keeping women from ditching his get-togethers, and he did this on television, folks. This was on Late Night with Conan O'Brien in 2002. So Conan was like, hey, how do you throw a great party? Because by then, Puffy was already known for his parties. He said woman. Beautiful woman, of course. Beautiful men for the ladies, of course. You need some water. I don't know if guys have noticed this, but a lot of ladies drink water at the parties, so if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave. And then he said something very interesting. Gotta keep them there. Need locks on the doors. Now, Conan O'Brien was like, that sounds kind of dangerous. Puffy tried to play it off. He's like, no, it's all in fun. Well, he didn't say that word. He said a word that starts with a K that I can't say. But like, nope, that does not sound like a great human rights situation. So sure, as all this continues to hit the light and it's all technically allegation and whodunits and maybes and allegedlys, it's probably gonna be a while before we get anything concrete, because if you went to a Puffy party or hung out with him, you had to sign an NDA. So apparently it's a pretty standard one, like you can't share information related to the disgraced music mogul himself, partners, family members, friends, business associates. You also couldn't photograph, film, or record anything without written consent. And even though that is pretty boilerplate, obviously we all wish we had footage right about now. You also, if you took anything, you can't share anything on social media without any explicit consent from the bad boy founder. Also, you can't give an interview, you can't write a book, you can't discuss anything. So obviously that's probably why we're not hearing about anything, but like, we would still like to know. The non-disclosure seems to cover anything that could get the rapper into trouble, and it does expire at one point. It's valid for, let's see, Puffy's life plus 20 years or 70 years, whichever is longer. Yes, it's boilerplate, but still, come on folks. You can break it, it'll make everybody's lives easier.
Diddy will be in jail for a very long time for the crimes he committed at his infamous parties. But now, with photos and videos being leaked of the big bashes, some celebrities are scared as they could be implicated with his crimes. Now, since Diddy's arrest, various photos and videos have been leaked and have resurfaced, and celebs are panicking over it. Now, starting off, there's Ashton Kutcher. Now, past footage of him at one of Diddy's white parties, having a good time on a swing, has been going around. Also, photos of him and his then-wife Demi Moore have resurfaced. With this, people have looked more into Ashton and Diddy's past friendship, and it's honestly concerning. Ashton was actually really close with Diddy, and he once said, "If you're a single man, there's probably no greater human being in the world to hang out with. This is 20 years ago, 19 years ago. We were having a lot of fun together." Then, concerning footage of Ashton not being able to name an appropriate favorite Diddy party memory surfaced. While appearing on Hot Ones, host Sean Sean Evans asked Ashton for his favorite memory at a Diddy party, but Ashton said, "I've got a lot I can't tell." He laughed and said, "I can't tell that one either." So if he can't tell those stories, how bad were they? But it said that Ashton himself is worried about what could happen with this whole Diddy situation. An insider source revealed that Ashton absolutely regrets his friendship with Diddy, considering what has happened. He feels lied to, betrayed, taken for granted, and manipulated. Everyone who is close to Diddy fears the possibility of Diddy making up false allegations to clear his own name. Although Kutcher is frightened by the prospect of being involved in the case, he is also prepared to completely cooperate with authorities because he has nothing to hide. Now, in the past, Diddy once named Leo as the #1 person on his white party invitation list, which raises some eyebrows. I mean, you don't just say that. Now, people have been looking at Leo strange, but a source close to Leo says that he's not been in contact with Diddy for years, saying he never attended freak-offs and has nothing to do with the case. Now, the pair were last seen together in 2019 when Leo attended Diddy's 50th birthday party. But a source went on to say, Leonardo DiCaprio has absolutely nothing to do with any of this. He attended a few of his parties back in the early 2000s, but literally everyone did. They were not freak-offs, they were big house parties. Leo was at the start of his career at the time and has moved way past his partying. He has nothing to do with any of that world, so for anyone to assume that he will get roped into this based on a few grainy photos that are more than 20 years old is ridiculous. Then, of course, there's the Kardashians. Kim and Khloe Kardashian have been spotted at multiple Diddy parties, and in recent years, the whole Kar-Jenner family have been spotted with Diddy. They posted about it on social media, talked about him on their reality shows, and Khloe even had Diddy on as a guest on her show Cocktails with Khloe. Now, they have a real deep friendship, but fans noticed that Kim unfollowed Diddy since the raid on his houses. Khloe, though, still has an Instagram photo up of her, Diddy, and her sisters together, and captioned the post, "No party like a Diddy party." Yeah. Then there's the fact that Kris Jenner is dating Corey Gamble, who was good friends with Diddy. An insider said that Corey was aware of Diddy's controversial engagements, and a lot of people believe that Corey must have had some knowledge of what was going on. Now, an insider also noted, though, that he totally denies these allegations. However, it's been said that Kris has already started to plan her family's rescue in case things get dirty for her daughters. It's all very ugly and very embarrassing, and Kris is scrambling to distance them all from this and distract everyone, but that's going to be impossible if they get called to testify. Now, another source said all these years that they bragged about partying with Diddy have of course got everyone assuming that they were somehow involved in these deprived freak-offs. They then asserted that the family had no idea the sorts of twisted things he was up to after hours. Now, talking to In Touch magazine, the insider continued, Diddy had plenty of glamorous parties over the years that weren't freak-offs, at least not until the early morning hours when the majority of people had left. Now, the insider suggests that Kris is presently scrambling to distance them from all of this, and I can't blame her. Then there's the VHS tape that was recently leaked. Now, a source sent page 6 of VHS tape that was sent out as an invitation to Diddy's 29th birthday in 1998. It begins with a strange home video style skit in which Danny DeVito, lying on a sofa under a blanket, says, "That's right, Puff Daddy is having a party, and this is Puff Daddy inviting you to come. Let's have a ball." Then a group of celebs take turns reading from a script detailing the date and time, exactly how fabulous and expensive the party will be, and then reading an address to RSVP to. They then said that the venue would be revealed later. Now, this group of celebrities includes Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Rock, Mariah Carey, Will Smith, and Joan Rivers, to name a few. It's also been said that the whole video is 6 minutes long, but just over a minute of it was posted. Now, what happens in the other 5 minutes of it? No one really knows. People who have seen this, though, claim that the celebs involved in the tape should be looked at as potential accomplices in Diddy's case, as they appear to be good friends with him and have close ties. And Hey, I gotta say, I agree with this. I mean, everyone should be looked into, as the crimes Diddy is being accused of are absolutely disgusting, and he clearly was not alone committing them. Now, Ray J, who is friends with Diddy, has spoken out about how some celebrities are paying off their victims when it comes to the freak-offs. Ray J said, "I'm hearing about artists paying victims to keep their names out of it." Now, Tony Busby, the attorney representing more than 120 alleged victims, disclosed that he has sent out demand letters to the celebrities, asking them to pay up or face the consequences. Now, Tony had previously mentioned that investigations into Diddy's case had implicated several Hollywood big shots. He has disclosed that he's now going after other celebrities, though, who attended Diddy's freak-offs, even if they did nothing wrong. In a new appearance on TMZ's documentary, The Downfall of Diddy: Inside the Freak-Offs, Tony claims such big names are as guilty as those who perpetrated the crimes, explaining that their silence and unwillingness to stand against it makes them liable. Now, I wonder if any of the celebrities we mentioned before were sent these letters. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And I mean, in a September 17th letter to a judge arguing for Diddy to be jailed until he is brought to trial, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams claimed that his office has the testimony of dozens of witnesses and victims to his serial mistreatment and evidence from dozens of his own electronic devices and those of his co-conspirators. Investigators have taken in more than 90 cell phones, laptops, cloud storage accounts, as well as at least 30 storage devices. They issued more than 300 grand jury subpoenas to obtain this evidence from communication providers, tech and social media companies, financial institutions, and Diddy's companies. Prosecutors allegedly have dozens of videos depicting Diddy's so-called freak-offs that corroborate witness testimony. So who knows really how many people were involved in all of this.
New photos from the night of one of Diddy's major lawsuits shine a whole new light on his relationship with then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez. We'll get into all this and more in leaked Diddy party photo of Jennifer Lopez will change everything. Diddy, as you likely know by now, has been accused of some pretty heinous things by multiple people, including some past partners. Many lawsuits have been filed against the disgraced rapper. The lawsuit alleged that Diddy and an unnamed additional male celebrity harmed her inappropriately, while another, also unnamed, female celebrity watched. The plaintiff's story in the lawsuit was, she attempted to sneak into Radio City Music Hall in 2000 for MTV's VMAs, but when she was unsuccessful, she ran into Diddy's driver. The driver told her to come back after the show, and when she did, he drove her to a large white house with a gated U-shaped driveway. The plaintiff further claims that upon entering the house, she was presented with a non-disclosure agreement and asked to sign. Once inside, she claims there was widespread use of substances, and when handed a beverage, they were in there too. In a bid to find somewhere safe to rest, the plaintiff claims that she entered an empty bedroom, and it wasn't long after she entered that the trio of celebrities allegedly followed. It was then that the multiple transgression happened, ultimately halting when the plaintiff struck Diddy in the neck. She was able to eventually escape the house and return home, but of course, the night left its mark. As reported by the Daily Mail, the lawsuit claims that the plaintiff fell into a deep depression which continues to affect every facet of her life. Diddy continues to assert his innocence. Back in October of this year, the Daily Mail obtained exclusive images of allegedly the very same after-party that this incident happened at, and the photos feature what appears to be a very angry J-Lo yelling at then-boyfriend and presently accused Sean Diddy Combs. The couple appears to be towards the wall of the room that is clearly still buzzing with party energy. Diddy appears to be dressed in what he wore to Radio City Music Hall that evening, a white shirt, baseball cap, and the new addition being what appears to be a bottle in his hand. In J-Lo's case, she had changed from her event outfit of the all-white ensemble with the bedazzled bandana to a colorful diamond and striped mini dress. As the party guests dance around the couple, the vibes could not be more different. Even directly beside J-Lo is who the Daily Mail has pointed out as her sister, Linda Lopez. She has a big smile on her face in some photos. It looks like she's continuing to dance the night away. In other photos, it's unclear if they became before or after the initial argument photo. J-Lo appears to be looking at Diddy in disdain or disappointment as he pours guests glasses from the bottle in his hand. In what the Daily Mail deems the next photo in the sequence, J-Lo is seen pushing away from the alleged confrontation and walking out of frame. As these are photos and not videos, there is no way of knowing exactly what was being said while the pictures were being taken unless one of the two stars steps forward. Though with the timing of the photos being obtained so close to the lawsuit being filed, it's made people look into the images a bit closer and wonder what the apparent argument could have been about. As of right now, JLo is not named in the lawsuit filed by the girl harmed at the allegedly same party. The lawsuit simply states Sean Diddy Combs and 2 unnamed celebrities were present. If it was this party, the house would be crawling with famous faces. This after-party event was co-hosted by Eminem and Dr. Dre. Some big-name guests that were included in the series of images the Daily Mail obtained from this night include music artist Jay-Z, magician David Blaine, model Carmen Cass, and rapper Ice-T, and more. To be clear, none of these people were named in the lawsuit either, they were simply present at the after-party. There have been instances in the past when Diddy has hosted star-studded bashes that turn into his bad parties after all the talent has left. The US Sun reported that Diddy's 2005 VMAs after-party went something like that. The event started as a party and was attended by big names like Eva Longoria and Paris Hilton, but the later half of the evening allegedly dissolved into one of Diddy's infamous freak-offs after the majority of the talent had left. The remaining party guests allegedly were moved from the nightclub to Diddy's mansion in the early morning, and this is where his inappropriate party happened. Footage from the later half of the party allegedly shows Diddy wearing the same outfit he had been wearing in the VMA after-party pics. It's unclear if the incident at the 2000 MTV VMAs after-party was a situation like that, or an isolated incident that happened during the party. Diddy is known for having an unsavory and violent past that is completely unrelated to the many lawsuits filed against him lately. Just under a year before the year 2000 after-party, in December of 1999, Diddy and JLo were arrested after an altercation in a Manhattan club. Reported at the time was that in the club, Diddy, JLo, Diddy's bodyguard, and another music artist named Shine got in a disagreement that resulted in a fight. Diddy and JLo were not harmed inside the bar and fled the scene taking a car. Forbes reported that the couple were being chased by police, and the New York Post reported that the car ran a red light before being pulled over by the police. It was during this stop that things started to go south for the famous couple. Inside the car, police found a stolen weapon, the discovery prompting the stars being taken into custody. Present at the station where the couple was taken was retired NYPD detective Derek Parker. After the event, he spoke to the New York Post, giving them an exclusive look into what it was like in the room that night. He said there were all these high-profile lawyers barricaded in the station house waiting to talk to the desk officer, and further went on to recall that JLo was first handcuffed to a pole inside the station and then later held for about 14 hours in detention. Of course, like I'm assuming anyone who just experienced a club uproar and arrest like she did, the retired detective said that JLo appeared distressed. JLo ended up getting released and cleared of all charges first after that 14 hours. She later shared in an interview that she was scared to death in the car at the time. Though JLo was cleared of any charges, Diddy wasn't, so a trial had to take place that lasted a few weeks. In addition to the incident at the club, prosecutors also alleged that Diddy and his bodyguard tried to bribe the driver of the getaway car $50,000 in exchange for him telling the police the weapon was his. One of the victims of the incident did testify as a witness at the trial. During her testimony, she claimed that she saw Diddy pulling out the weapon with his right hand, and then very soon after feeling immense pain in her face that later turned out to be caused by the There is a tie-in to this situation and the current Diddy situation. One of the recent lawsuits filed against Diddy came from producer Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. He filed a civil lawsuit for non-consensual relations and harassment, but in a shocking turn of events, it also seems to possibly reference this 1999 incident as well. The suit claimed that on the day Homeland Security raided Diddy's home, he displayed his and bragged about getting away with using these weapons against people. It went further, saying that Diddy also confirmed to those present that he was responsible for the New York incident with the other rapper Shine. Not only that, but that JLo was the one who carried the firearm into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. Of course, you might notice that this would make JLo being in possession of the item and handing it to Diddy improbable if the original victim insisted she saw him pull it out. But it's not impossible, could have happened before the altercation began. In the end, Diddy was acquitted along with his bodyguard. Though it is over 2 decades after the incident, the victim, Natanya Rubin, is still fighting for justice. She joined Elizabeth Vargas Reports for an interview earlier in the year in which she shared that she still has 9 fragments of the projectile in her face. A follow-up interview revealed that Rubin was nervous even years later about sharing her story. She also said in the interview that she wouldn't mind if the case was reopened, even going so far as to say that as long as it didn't cause any health complications, she would be willing to have a doctor remove a part of the 9mm projectile in her face to be used as evidence in court. Another interesting moment in the J-Lo-Diddy relationship history is a rumor from the early 2000s that was addressed in a recent interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live. The rumor was that while Diddy was dating J-Lo in the late 90s, early 2000s, Will Smith and his wife had propositioned the Jenny from the Block singer with an invitation to join them in bed. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't too happy with that and threatened to attack Smith. Never one to shy away from anything, Kimmel straight up asked Diddy if this was true. Insert clip here. At first, the music artist made absolutely no movements, just kept his face in a very serious mask. Eventually, he did respond with, "You really heard that?" and laughed the whole thing off, claiming he didn't know what Kimmel was talking about. The talk show host played into the bit, making a remark about how one can't believe everything they hear on the internet.
We've been finding out more and more information about Diddy recently, and somehow Britney Spears has been involved in all of this. Yep, you heard that right, so let's look into her involvement. TriStar Sports and Entertainment Group is the celebrity management firm that previously came under fire for its alleged involvement in Britney Spears' conservatorship battle. Turns out though, they also have a connection to Diddy. The company's founder, president, and CEO is none other than Britney's former business manager, Lou M. Taylor, who she accused of playing a key role in the conservatorship's implementation in 2008. Now, we know that sketchy things were happening with Britney, so who knows what horrible things this group has done in connection to Diddy. Now, Lou actually managed Diddy too, as she confirmed it in 2019. Britney has also previously called out TriStar Services director Robin Greenhill, who was recently mentioned in a civil lawsuit against Diddy by producer Rodney Little Rod Jones. In 2021, it was revealed that Greenhill was in control of Britney's credit cards, medications, and that TriStar had allegedly used Britney's own money to hire a security team to surveil her during her conservatorship, which is honestly just crazy. Now, Britney even spoke out about Greenhill in her memoir, labeling her a weird blank lackey, and accused the pair, along with her own father, Jamie Spears, of bullying her. Now, it was also previously reported by the Los Angeles Times that Britney's legal team was investigating the alleged $18 million that TriStar obtained from her estate over the span of the conservatorship, which was terminated by a judge in November 2021 after 13 years. TriStar, Taylor, and Greenhill have all denied the allegations and have insisted that Britney's conservatorship was put forth by recommendation of legal counsel, not TriStar, and approved by the court for more than 12 years. Now, they mistreated Britney so poorly, and it appears that they helped Diddy cause harms to others. Now, Greenhill's name was back in the press this year after Rodney Little Rod Jones filed a $30 million lawsuit against Diddy, claiming that he mistreated and took advantage of him. Now, Rodney also claimed that Diddy made him a witness to multiple crimes against his own will as well. Now, how does this relate to Britney? Well, she accused the company and its founder, her former manager, Lou Taylor, of helping create and benefiting from the conservatorship agreement put in place by her father, Jamie Spears, in 2008, which she described as traumatizing in her court statements. Now, Britney claimed that TriStar had received $18 million in the conservatorship arrangement, even though Britney didn't have access to her own earnings. Now, the New York Times reported that Greenhill had been an important agent in the company's interest in the conservatorship by controlling her credit cards and medications well beyond what one would expect a pop star's management company to do. Now, a lot of the company's inner workings for how it manages its accounts are kept under lock and key, the paper reported, with two former employees saying they weren't allowed to access basic information like income statements or balance sheets. TriStar first tried to deny it helped originate Britney's conservatorship, which her attorney challenged by presenting the court with an email that showed its reps discussing the arrangement at its origination. The New York Times documentary about Britney's case included allegations that TriStar and Greenhill specifically had operated an elaborate surveillance apparatus to spy on the pop star. But how did this all start? Well, everyone knows about Britney's meltdowns in 2006 and 2007. Now, later, at the beginning of 2008, she was put on a 5150 hold in the hospital. A week after this, she was sent back to the hospital on a 5150 hold again, and her father Jamie was granted temporary conservatorship over the star. Now, soon after the conservatorship was in place, she said her father said, "I just want to let you know, I call the shots. You sit there in that chair and I'll tell you what goes on," she recalled. "I looked at him with a growing sense of horror. I'm Britney Spears now," he said. Now, Britney also spoke out about the 13-year conservatorship, and she hit out at her dad Jamie in the explosive memoir as she opened up about the unrelenting control her family had over her, which looking back makes her feel sick. Now, people in Hollywood knew that this was happening but didn't do anything. Finally, in 2019, fans started to realize that something was wrong, and they created the Free Britney movement. Now, with fans backing Britney up, she felt like she finally had a voice and requested the conservatorship to end. Now, she and her father appeared in court multiple times over the year, and on November 12, 2021, the conservatorship was finally over. Now, it seems like TriStar and its employees are always getting in trouble and should honestly be investigated. While Britney is free now, some people don't think she got the justice she deserved. Now that TriStar is intertwined with Diddy, maybe the company and its employees will now be held accountable. Now, Diddy, though, for his part, claims that he's innocent. Now, Diddy is currently awaiting trial at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. He's proposed different bail packages, but they've all been denied. Defense lawyer Alexandra Shapiro asked them to release Diddy on a $50 million bond, which would be backed by his $48 million Miami home and co-signed by several of his family members. Now, she also proposed that Diddy be monitored around the clock by security personnel, be subjected to at-home detention, and have no contact with alleged victims or witnesses. One of the judges who denied this package, Judge Robin Tarnofsky, sided with U.S. Attorney's argument that Diddy posed a risk if he were to be released for home detention. She said, "I don't believe that counsel has the ability to control you, given the very significant concerns I have, particularly because of substance use and what seems like anger issues. The danger, I think, is quite serious," she added of Diddy's release, deciding that the bond package his team offered would not assure his return to court or the safety of the community or lack of witness tampering. In a September 17th letter to the judge arguing for Diddy to be jailed until he was brought to trial, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams claimed that his office has the testimony of dozens of witnesses and victims to his serial mistreatment and evidence from dozens of his own electronic devices and those of his co-conspirators. Investigators have taken in more than 90 cell phones, laptops, cloud storage accounts, as well as at least 30 storage devices. They issued more than 300 grand jury subpoenas to obtain this evidence from communication providers, tech and social media companies, financial institutions, and Diddy's companies. Another celebrity has been linked to Diddy, and that is model Kate Moss. Photos have been leaked of her and Diddy partying together, and people are shocked. Now, Kate was known for being a party girl at one point in her life, so it's not really that shocking to see her with Diddy, but what is alarming though is that in the photos, it looks like Diddy's holding a pill while he poses beside her. Now, was that for him, for her, or for some other victim? It seems like no one really knows. The photos are from top talent agent Paul Rowland's 40th birthday party in New York City in 1999. Kate is seen partying with Diddy, and he's seen grabbing Kate's neck in the image, taken at Victor's Cafe, a Cuban restaurant and nightclub in Midtown Manhattan. But this isn't the only time that Diddy and Kate have been spotted together. In 2014, they were photographed celebrating Riccardo Tisci's 40th birthday in Ibiza. Diddy actually posted a photo of him, Kate, Naomi Campbell, Kim Kardashian, and more on his Twitter account, though hours later he deleted it. Now, we don't know why he deleted it, but he was together with all these people. Not to mention, in a 2015 interview, he spoke about how he spent surreal nights with Kate in Paris. "Sometimes I'll be in the studio until 3 a.m., or I'll be out in Paris at a fashion show, and just hanging out until the morning with Naomi Campbell and Kate Moss. Those times are always surreal," he told Into the Gloss in 2015. I'm remember a time I just done a photo shoot for Vogue, and afterward, Kate, Naomi, and I just went out and did something a little touristy and cliche. We went and had champagne at the Eiffel Tower, someone had brought music, and we had a little party up there, just the three of us. So, was Kate just there to party, or did she take part in the crimes, or was she even just a victim in all of this? I guess we'll just have to wait and see if she decides to speak up. Now, Kate was known for her party ways though, so at the time it wasn't too shocking that she was seen hanging out with Diddy, as he was known for throwing the best parties. I mean, anyone who was someone was in attendance, and it was an honor to be invited. Since then though, Kate has slowed down her partying days, and we're not too sure the last time she spoke to Diddy, but the fact that she's still being associated with him is not a good thing. Now, a lot of celebrities have been accused of being involved in Diddy's crime ring. Essentially, if you were ever spotted with the rapper or at his parties, people are looking at you differently now. Kate Moss is just the newest celebrity, as others include Ashton Kutcher, Leonardo DiCaprio, J-Lo, and Beyonce and Jay-Z. Now, Jay-Z is actually involved in a lawsuit where he and Diddy are accused of taking advantage of a girl at a party in the year 2000. So, what's the whole story with Diddy though? Well, in March, his houses were raided by Homeland Security, and he kept on receiving more and more lawsuits from people accusing him of mistreating them. Then in September, he was finally arrested, as the government had enough proof that he ran a crime ring for years. Now at this point, he had racked up 9 different lawsuits in less than a year. While in jail though, he has received even more, 16 to be exact, but there are over 120 accusers who are planning to file lawsuits against the rapper. Yep, you heard that right, 120. Tony Busby revealed at a press conference on October 1st that he is representing 120 accusers who allege misconduct against Diddy over the course of 2 decades. Andrew Van Arsdale, one of the plaintiff's attorneys, told the Washington Post that there will be 120 individual lawsuits filed in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami in the coming weeks. Now, he said that more than 3,000 individuals have come forward to his office with accusations against Diddy. Now, it seems like Diddy has been doing this for a very long time, and personally, I'm glad that he's finally getting caught, as the details that have come out about this are just so disgusting. The thing is though, multiple celebrities have been warning us about Diddy and what he's been doing. But at the time, no one listened to them. Kate Williams spoke candidly about Diddy in the past, accusing him of committing crimes and trying to get away with it. During a discussion on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Kat suggested Diddy would be exposed in 2024. Now, the comedian also alleged you have to tell Diddy no, all these big deviants are catching hell in 2024, it's up for all of them, it doesn't matter if you're Diddy or whoever, all lies will be exposed, he said. Now, it seems like he definitely knew about all of this before it became public information, as in another snippet, he claimed he had to turn down $50 million 4 times. P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you've got to tell him no, I did, he alleged. In a 2022 interview for Drink Champs, Kanye West called out celebrities for allegedly working with law enforcement to turn on other celebrities so they could avoid prison. Now, one of the celebrities that he called out by name was Diddy, who he referred to as Puff Daddy. Now, the interview was eventually deleted due to some offensive things Kanye said, but with people now digging it back up, his comments about Diddy hold more weight. Kanye said that Diddy is making deals to keep himself out of trouble. The reason why you gotta talk is because you did a deal, you effing fed. That's why you gotta come at me, because part of the deal for you to be able to do all that and get out of jail is that you promise that you're gonna pull my card, he said. But it seems like that didn't really work out for Diddy. Now, 50 Cent is another celebrity who has warned us about Diddy for years. And honestly, we should have listened. He's been posting on social media now that he's always been right about Diddy, and he makes a lot of posts making fun of the rapper for everything going on. 50 Cent is actually making a documentary currently about Diddy and what he did to all of his victims. Now, 50 Cent has been a very loud voice when it comes to calling out Diddy. But Diddy hasn't been having the best time in jail. The day after he was arrested, Diddy was denied bail and ordered to jail as he faced multiple charges. He appeared in New York and pleaded not guilty, and his lawyers tried unsuccessfully to keep him out of jail, requesting his release to home detention, travel restrictions, and a $50 million bond in Manhattan court, but prosecutors argued that Diddy was a serious flight risk and has the money, manpower, and tools to flee without detection. Now, on October 10th, during an appearance in Manhattan, prosecutors revealed that authorities seized 96 electronic devices in raids of Diddy's Miami and Los Angeles homes, as well as a private airport in South Florida. Prosecutors say Diddy might face more charges, something they have floated during prior court proceedings, and once again, he was denied bail. Now, mid-November, it was reported that Diddy had tried to reach out to prospective witnesses and influence public opinion from jail in a bid to affect potential jurors for his upcoming trial, as prosecutors claimed in a court filing that is part of a bail request. Now, for a third time near the end of that month, he was denied bail again. His lawyers had proposed a $50 million bail package again, and they said they would ensure that the rapper did not flee or try to intimidate other potential trial witnesses. In a bail hearing, the judge said, "The court finds the government has shown by clear and convincing evidence that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community. Given the nature of the allegations in this case and the information provided by the government, the court doubts the sufficiency of any conditions that place trust in Diddy and individuals in his employ, like private security detail, to follow these conditions." So yeah, Diddy's still in there. His trial is set for May 5th, 2025, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens next.
Puff Daddy is currently facing some serious allegations that have tarnished the reputation he built for himself in the music industry and beyond. Once a close-knit circle of celebrity friends seems to be distancing themselves in the wake of these serious allegations. Well, there's a leaked VHS tape allegedly sent as an invitation to Puffy's 29th birthday back in 1998 that has further raised a number of eyebrows. So known for his love of partying, Puff Daddy has never shied away from going out and about while hosting such events, although some of his current legal troubles reportedly stem from similar gatherings. But I digress. So the nearly 6-minute long video serves both as a time capsule from the peak of the bad boy era and as a reminder of how far Puff Daddy, who even skipped this year's Grammy Awards and is now kind of, out of action, has slipped socially amid the investigation. So the tape, which arrived in the hands of the most powerful and glamorous players in LA and New York in a black velvet pouch with the birthday gala, November 4th, 1998 written on it in white script, features, wait for it folks, Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Rock, Mariah Carey, Magic Johnson, Will Smith, Ben Stiller, Joan Rivers, Steven Tyler, Joe Perry, Tommy Hilfiger, Clive Davis, Ronald Perlman, Penny Marshall, Stephen Baldwin, and so many more. And they're all taking turns to hype the bash, encouraging the recipients to RSVP and to goof off for the camera. It all begins with a strange home video style skit in which Danny DeVito, lying on a sofa under a blanket, is like, "That's right, Puff Daddy's having a party, and this is Puff Daddy inviting you to come. Let's have a ball." And then the cavalcade of A-listers take turns reading from a script detailing the date and time, exactly how fabulous and expensive the affair will be, and then reading an address to RSVP to. Apparently the venue, which turned out to be Cipriani Wall Street, would be revealed later. One person refers to the "I'll Be Missing You" rapper as the legendary Puff Daddy. Some folks, including Ellen DeGeneres, tease him for his many monikers. Some other folks make fun of their own unease with hip-hop slang. One reliable source who attended the bash said, "I've forgotten how much was made of the party in the press. I think bigger celebs and moguls were fascinated by the chutzpah of this 29-year-old. The Daily News reported that at the time the bash cost $600,000 and 1,600 people were on that list. The Observer compared it to Truman Capote's black and white ball at the Plaza, writing that while Truman's party was more for that creme de la creme of society, Puff Daddy was celebrating the kind of high-profile commercial success and notoriety that knows no bounds. So for decades, these parties were the place to be. Puff Daddy had all sorts of them. He had his annual Hamptons White Party. We had a number of blow-up birthday bashes like the one I just mentioned. There were these lavish champagne and caviar-filled soirees, and these were attended by the likes of Jay-Z, Beyonce, J-Lo, Leonardo DiCaprio, and so many more. There was chatter. Leonardo DiCaprio did step back after a snap from one of the infamous parties came to light, and a friend of his mentioned, look, he just went to a party, it wasn't that big of a deal, they weren't super close, but look, Back when Leonardo showed up at Puff Daddy's white party, the music star had tagged Leonardo as the #1 person he wanted at the bash. But apparently a source close to the situation is like, no, Leo had no connection with Puff Daddy ever since that party in 1998. The insider made it clear that the actor was not involved in the freak-offs. Well, a source shares that they were known to be wild. Anything went to those parties. And ever since all those legal things have been coming into light this year, there's been a lot of speculation about what goes on there. There's been talks of rooms just for getting it on. There's been rampant substance use. There's been these all-night getting it on situations. Apparently, and these freak-offs were mentioned in the 14-page indictment. Victims were, given substances against their will, forced to participate in extended performances that could last days at a time with professional workers. These things took place at hotels. Now, we gotta remember that Puff Daddy did plead not guilty to the charges and has denied all claims of SA. How much or how little did his A-list guests actually see at these crazy parties? Well, a couple of celebs have not been tight-lipped. In a 2014 episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Khloe Kardashian recalled hitting up a Puff Daddy bash in Las Vegas. And she's like, yeah, this party, I think half the people were like, in the nude. And when asked about what went down when somebody else attended, Ashton Kutcher was like, I got a lot I can't say. And he said that verbatim in 2019 on Hot Ones. He's like, yeah, going through my little Rolodex of stories, can't tell that one either. In 2016, Howard Stern asked Usher, who lived with Puff Daddy for a year when he was, getting a start in the industry. And Howard Stern was like, hey, would you let anybody in your family go to one of those parties? Usher was like, nope. So obviously following all of this, a lot of folks are like, okay, we were maybe at the parties, but we didn't see anything. 50 Cent has been very, very vocal for a very long time, being like, nope, I didn't go to those parties. It's an uncomfortable energy, which in retrospect, probably a very smart man. Puff Daddy's friend Ray J was like, I've never seen anything that's been said there. I've never been in rooms that people are talking about. I don't think they existed. A lot of people in the industry can agree with me on that sense. Now look, apparently all the unsavory behavior took place at the after parties. What happened before 2 a.m. pales into comparison to what happened at 5 a.m. There was a source who wrangled guests for these parties. And yeah, the high-profile celebs would apparently leave around 2 to 3 a.m. And that's when the party took a turn for the naughty. Folks would lose their clothes, which was apparently the signal for people to leave. That's when fun things would come out, and that's when it would turn into a bender. During an intimate discussion with Oprah, peeling away the layers of his complex life, Puff Daddy evoked curiosity by avoiding details about the origin of the Puff Daddy moniker. So this conversation was part of an interview for O Magazine, and Oprah was just casually asking. She's like, what's going on here? And Puffy was like, look, it's a nickname somebody gave me. And obviously Oprah being an interviewer, she was like, okay, but we're gonna prod here. And then Puff Daddy was like, look, I've never told anyone that. I know you get people to tell you everything, Oprah, but I can't look you in the eye and explain that one. He's like, no, we're gonna have a name change ceremony. I'm rocking with, a new moniker now. My man Biggie gave me that. So who else was at these parties? Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton were spotted enjoying the lavish and extravagant atmosphere. Going back to Usher, once again, so he was mentored by Puff Daddy. He was at a lot of these parties. He's mentioned a lot of the wild things, and he once, he kind of handed over Bieber. Other high-profile guests included music icon Diana Ross, Hollywood actor Owen Wilson, but we're gonna go back to Ashton Kutcher for a moment. Because even though he said, I can't talk about anything, and I never did anything, their friendship goes way back. In the mid-2000s, they were so close that they were like, we're the new Rat Pack, us and Jamie Foxx. So when Ashton said hey, I can't talk about a lot of this, what can't you talk about? Because the Daily Mail is like, hey, we think you might be expecting a subpoena soon about what you do know. And sure, yeah, Puffy has said, nothing's happening. But if Ashton Kutcher is worried about potential betrayal, what would he be betrayed about?
Footage has resurfaced of Will Smith participating in a video invitation to Sean Diddy Combs' 29th birthday party, and after everything that has come out about Diddy events, people are wondering just how involved Smith was in the party's activities. We'll get into this and more today in new leaked party footage of Diddy and Will Smith changes everything. In the modern day, Page 6 is the celebrity news site that got their hands on a VHS tape. That is how old this invite is, a VHS tape of the invitation. It's a whole bunch of famous celebrities, including including Oprah, Ellen, Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, and more, inviting the recipient to an exclusive Diddy bash. In this section posted to Page Six's YouTube channel, Will Smith has a featured moment saying, "You are cordially invited to celebrate the birth of P. Diddy." No expense appears to be spared. In addition to the celebrity cameos, Page Six reports that at the time, the VHS invite would have been delivered in a black velvet pouch embroidered with the birthday gala and the date of the event, November 4th, 1998. TSG.com actually leaked this birthday invitation and location 2 days before the bash was set to happen. Because this was 1998 though when it leaked, their servers couldn't handle posting the video all at once, so it was only released in roughly 10 to 20 second chunks. And get this, barely anyone has watched these videos. Of the 5 parts, the one with the most views has 157, so it's kind of like you're the first to hear about this decades-old drama. Anyway, the footage is causing a stir because over the past year, Diddy has been hit with many lawsuits accusing the rapper of physically engaging with individuals without consent, forcing people to perform acts or consume things they do not want to, invading privacy, and generally being a bad guy and more. Some of these acts he was committing were done in private. Security footage viral earlier this year of an altercation between Diddy and a past partner of his, in which he was physically rough with her in a deserted hotel hallway. But that doesn't mean untoward things didn't take place in public. A term you are probably hearing a lot when it comes to this situation is freak off. These were parties hosted by Diddy in which all parties present would engage with each other, allegedly, not always consensually, and allegedly Diddy would film the events. Many people with suits open against the disgraced rapper who claim to have been involved in these freak-offs say they did not want to be there. However, Diddy's lawyer claims that it was all consensual. The freak-offs part of this scandal is causing problems for many of Hollywood's most famous, as it has become a thing to assume that if someone was spotted at a Diddy party, any Diddy party, then they engaged in a freak-off. That's why all the celebrities in that VHS invite that were so excited to invite people to the birthday party are now being looked at more closely. However, it is worth noting that just because someone attended a Diddy bash doesn't mean they engaged in untoward activities. Freak-offs are commonly reported to have either been planned well in advance with hotels rented and people organized, or that they were a result of late night partying. So the after party for an event might have turned into a freak-off. Many news publications report that by the time the evening would get to freak-off status, most of the big name celebrities would have left. Like in the case of Sean Diddy Combs' 2005 VMAs after party. This was attended by stars like Paris Hilton, Eva Longoria, and more. According to the US Sun, as the party switched from a nightclub to Diddy's mansion in the early morning, the big names had long departed the event, and well in his home, the festivities had descended into a freak-off. Footage from the later half of the party allegedly shows Diddy wearing the same outfit he had been in at the VMA party pics. That's how the two situations were connected. But sometimes, even if it's unknown if a party later became a freak-off, that doesn't mean odd things didn't happen. Smith attended and was likewise photographed at a 2004 Diddy party. Now this party in particular, from the photos Smith is in, it doesn't look too strange, a regular party setting. However, other photos that appear to be taken from the same evening show the less family-friendly side of the event. In one photo, you can see an unclothed woman lying on a table surrounded by and with food on top of her body. She has a leaf to protect her lower half, however she is exposed everywhere else. One picture shows Combs standing over that woman and staring down at her while eating what appears to be a chocolate strawberry. The woman is surrounded by chocolate strawberries, grapes, candles, and other food items. The act of eating off an unclothed woman is actually a known Japanese practice that some would consider an art, but was outlawed in China in 2005 after it was deemed a public health concern and morally wrong. Despite the photos from this particular party being available for decades, people are now just starting to analyze them due to all the accusations against Combs. Technically, Diddy was enjoying a Japanese practice, but his past inappropriate actions have made people wonder if the woman on the table was as willing a participant or forced to be there. Again, due to Combs wearing the same outfits in photos with the woman and then later with Will Smith, it appears Smith was in attendance at this particular party. Will Smith and Combs are only pictured talking to one another. It's unclear if Smith also visited that table with the woman or kept his distance. Another example of a Diddy party with freaky elements would be his November 2004 birthday bash. The room was lined with raised levels with curtains at the back, so if guests didn't want to be on the dance floor, they could watch from above, which is admittedly Not odd. The weird part came later. As the night went on, the curtains were drawn back to reveal beds, booths, and water-filled porcelain bathtubs. The article also states that screens started displaying the text King Diddy. The booths would be standard for a party setting, but the beds and bathtubs? We don't need that. Now that the public is aware of Diddy's disturbing activities behind closed doors, it makes the inclusion of the beds and baths so much worse. The article goes on to confirm that in addition to the famous individuals at the party, it was also attended by performers like acrobats, go-go dancers, and those in other similar lines of work. This article does not touch on if the bathtubs or the beds were used for anything other than a break from tearing up the dance floor. While the VHS invitation is certainly extravagant, it's not the only time Diddy has sent invites as fancy as his events. For his 2002 VMAs after party, the rapper sent out old-timey looking invitations accompanied by, literally, a golden ticket. The golden ticket had all the party details, whereas the paper contained the dress code and other event rules. The men were required to have a clean-shaven haircut. The women also needed to have fancy hair, but also mani-pedis and to be waxed. And everyone had to be dressed up. He specifically called for top designers to be worn, like Gucci, YSL, you get the picture. All in all, little is known about this exclusive event, but the end of the invite features a line that is so much worse with the present-day context added to it. Don't disturb the fancy. Sure, this could mean just show up looking your best so you don't stand out among the other fancy people, but after learning about the beds from a later party, the women on the table, and the freak-offs, it reads as much, much weirder. But the big question, is this invitation real? No idea. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend at the time because I was probably off somewhere learning to walk. Nowadays, as I search for a source, the party was so long ago that there really isn't much. Plus, an invite like this would be really hard to get your hands on. Other than TSG.com, one other news site posted the invite, this time featuring that golden ticket and envelopes. There is a chance that it is in fact real. Either way, the party happened, and if the don't disturb the activities is as weird as it sounds today, then we don't really have to wonder if some untoward things happened at this extravagant affair. But to bring it back as to why you probably clicked this video, the connection between Diddy and Will Smith. Their history includes more than just partying. A rumor made its rounds that while Diddy was dating J-Lo back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Will Smith and his wife had propositioned the Jenny from the Block singer with an invitation to join them in bed. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't too happy with that and threatened to attack Smith. A wild rumor that found its way into a more recent segment of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Never one to shy away from anything, Kimmel straight up asked the rapper if this was true. At first, the music artist made absolutely no movements. He looked very serious, eventually breaking to respond with, "You really heard that?" and laughed the whole thing off, claiming he didn't know what Kimmel was talking about. The talk show host played into the bit, making a remark about how one can't believe everything they read on the internet. Even if the rumor proved to be true, Smith and Combs must have worked it out, considering they were pictured at multiple events together in later years, including the premiere of Hancock in 2008. Yes, plus, in a wild turn of fate, Diddy happened to be the person speaking next at the Oscars the year Will Smith rocked Chris Rock live on television. After the moment, Diddy had come out on stage and said, "I did not know that this year was going to be the most exciting Oscars ever. Okay, Will and Chris, we're going to solve that like family at the gold party, okay? But right now, we are moving on with love." P. Diddy was also one of the first to jump to Smith's defense after that incident. But funny enough, Chris Rock was also heavily featured in that VHS birthday invite we kicked this video off with. It's a small world up there in Hollywood.